Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Making the Complex Simple podcast, where I talk you through what I went through in the last week, and hopefully you get the lessons without getting the scars yourself. And so we're going to jump right in, talk about some of the few of the things that I've experienced this week. Hopefully, some of this stuff resonates with you, and you have some takeaways that you can implement into your business, your pursuits in life. And so, number one, I think this could be common amongst other business owners is that you're going to have these highs and lows. So, this week I had great days where things were going well, things were clicking, it was all working, and it was great. And then I had other days where it was like nothing was working, nothing was happening the way I wanted it to. We weren't getting the results that we wanted. And so you just go through like these peaks and valleys all the time from an emotional state. And I think it's important to know that whether you're on your high because everything's working or on a low, like you're in a valley because nothing seems to be working, the thing that you have to keep in mind is that you should continue to press towards wherever it is that you want to go. So whether you're feeling great, whether you're feeling bad, you should say, okay, got it. This is what my schedule says I need to be doing next. I need to continue. I need to move forward. I need to press through. And I think if you can still do the work regardless of your emotional state, that's the powerful thing, because then you're going to get through the tough times. You're going to get through the low times, and you're going to continue to press forward. That's where the consistency is built. That's where the confidence is built. It's not based off the outcomes that you're seeing, but that you're showing up and you're doing it every single day. And I think about, one of the people that I drew a lot of inspiration from when I was growing up, which was Kobe. He was on the Los Angeles Lakers, if you don't know. And he just had this insane work ethic. If you watch the videos after, like when he started going on podcasts at the end of his career, he talked about, how everyone would go in and do 2 practices. He would go in and do 3 practices. And he did that over years, right? So his work ethic was just so much greater than anyone else's. He was able to learn lessons quicker and compound his skills faster than anyone else. And so I think it's really important that you have more in you. And I think everyone, especially entrepreneurs, know this. They have more in the tank than they think. And so whenever you feel like something is done, whenever you feel like the email is done, the piece of content is ready, the YouTube video is ready to be published, odds are you probably still have 2 or 3 more revisions, reps, edits left before it's actually where it needs to be. And your best today will be your floor tomorrow, meaning your best today will be the bare minimum a week or 2 from now on the content or the videos or the speeches that you give or whatever it is that you're doing. So just always keep that in mind. Like, especially in the beginning, the bar is going to be moving up so quick that it's okay. Okay, got it. I put in my reps. It's okay to let it go and then work on the next one, because the next one's going to be better. And then the next one's going to be even better. So I think that it comes down to really 3 things. Like, if you want anything in life, I think it just comes down to 1, being extremely focused on what it is that you're trying to accomplish or the outcome that you're wanting. Number 2, I think, is extreme work ethic. So like Kobe, if you could do 3 practices a day while everyone else is doing 2, you're going to get farther ahead, and you have to do it over a long period of time. So if you can do those 3 things, you're going to be able to accomplish whatever you want. It's just, again, going back to what I was saying before, in the short term, it could be highs, it could be lows, but the point here is to be consistent throughout the process. And so that takes me into number 3, which is something I've just been observing more and been wanting to move more in one direction rather than the other. So when I was growing up, we had this rule during the summer that for every hour you wanted to watch of TV or on the computer or whatever it may be, you had to first read an hour from a book. And so I think in today's world, that can also translate into you want to create more than you're consuming. And that could be creating in multiple different ways. It doesn't have to be YouTube videos. It doesn't have to be short form videos. It could be a ton of different things. You could write a book. You can do a screenplay. You could do whatever, fill in the blank for you. But the point is, you want to be on that side. You want to be on the creating side more than the consuming side. You want to be on the obtaining knowledge and wisdom side rather than just consuming, right? You want to be on the giving side rather than the taking side more. And so you got to figure out where you are on the pendulum. And some of these things are going to be easier to figure out than others. Like, you can look at your phone and see how much time you're on social media, as one example and say, okay, this is how much time I'm in consuming. How can I balance that with creating? And I think if we do that and we move towards that direction, that's where you can then get paid more for what you do, or be able to gain a outcome that you're looking for, be able to gain a following, be able to go on stages if you want to do that, go on podcasts, things like that. But it first takes you being on the side of productivity rather than just being a consumer. And so if you can look at your day, look at your week or month, whatever it is, try to see if you can get a balance. So if you say, in a week I watch 6 hours of Netflix because I binge watch a show. Okay, so how can I do 6 hours of creating? How can I do 6 hours of wisdom or knowledge or doing? How can I do 6 hours of giving? Right? Figure out a way to try to balance that out. And the reason why I say this is because, as I'm posting more on social media, I spend more time on there because I'm looking to see what other people are doing. But then the trap you can fall into is just, scrolling on social media just for the entertainment part. So it's always, it can always be used as a tool, or it can be used as a way to burn time, or if you're bored, that's what you do. You just start scrolling rather than things that you could do that are more productive. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying we should always monitor and reflect on how much time we're spending on these things and seeing how can we balance it out more. One of the things that I also noticed too, like if you want to take that same concept but you put it into money terms, it's easier to spend than it is for people to give you money. So what you want to do with these things, if you want to move in this direction, is create more friction around the spending and try to create less friction around people giving you money. So what can I do to increase the likelihood that people will give me money? Got it. I got to provide a ton of value. If I do that, then I can extract a little bit of that value in the form of money. And on this side, on the right side, you'd say, how can I put more restrictions around spending? How can I reduce my cost of living? How can I pull back or maintain and not continue to spend as much as I am? Because the world's set up for it's super easy for you to spend money. So try to figure out ways to put friction around that and start looking for ways to how can I add more value to people? How can I then um, extract money or get people to pay me money? So I think again, it's going back to that equation. How much are you doing of each? And the more time and effort you're putting into the things that will add value to people and others and help people with their problems, solve solutions in a unique way, the more people are going to be willing to give you money for what you're providing as a service, because reciprocity, right? People want to be able to pay you. They don't want to feel like they owe you anything. And then that gets me into number 4, which as we're talking about adding value and giving, really there's two types of marketing. I want to speak on each of these. There's really pull marketing and push marketing. And the reason why I am spending some time on this thinking about it is because I've been really wanting to figure out, like, for me, my company, my brand, what do we want? Do we want to do more push marketing, or do we want to do more pull marketing in general? And so in the beginning, things like advertising, things like cold calling people, things like sending out emails to this list of people that you don't know, that's all cold, that's all pushing out to people. And that's going to get a really, really low response rate. Whereas attraction or pull marketing is you make content, you make things around what problems you solve or the interest that you have. And then people who are interested will be naturally gravitated towards those things. And then from there, you can say, hey, and I also have this, hey, and I also have that. And you can start redirecting them. And so I'm definitely not a fan. The more I'm in this game, the more I realize I'm not a fan of push marketing. And the reason why this came up for me was because I have been making YouTube videos, like I've told everyone who's listened to this podcast, and I've gotten responses from people in my social media direct messages, my inbox, saying, "Hey, I've watched your YouTube videos; they're great. Are you looking for help on this?" And to like increase your views, increase subscribers. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, they watched the video. That's great. They went and they found my social media profile. I would really love if it was a business owner who was looking for help with their finances that was being proactive like this. But lo and behold, a lot of times the people who are going to be proactive in the beginning, when you're making content, is going to be people who want something from you. So that's going to be people who are doing, like social media, like in this example, the social media marketing agency. So, I was talking to this company, really, and they're like, yeah, we'll help you, blah 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 blah. We have this many reviews, we've helped this many people, this is great. And you know, what I didn't really get from that person was they weren't really trying to build the relationship. They were really just trying to sell their solution. And I could tell that right from the beginning. Everything was centered around that. Even though I was trying to ask them questions outside of that, like, hey, well, how'd you find my content? And these other things, they didn't really they missed the mark. They didn't answer that question. They were just straight trying to sell. And so the more I could see that now being the receiver of this, the more I realized I don't really like that style. I think in your business, you got to figure out what you want to do. Do you want to do pull marketing? Do you want to do push marketing? And figure out what works for you, what you feel is right. I don't want to be like the salesy person, like the one who feels salesy. And I feel like when you do that push marketing more, you're feeling like you're a salesperson. I would much rather have pull marketing where people are interested in, your brand, your values, how you solve your problems, and then they're like, "Hey, I really resonate with your message." Or you can soft toss them with push marketing. That's what I do with ads. So my ads is the push marketing, and they don't have to interact with them. They can just scroll right past it, right? It takes 1 second for them to scroll right past it. They don't want to interact or see that content. And so I feel like it's a lower invasive push method, and it's on the platform that they're on already. And they should, like, if they are getting those ads, then they're most likely already consuming my content. So I look at it through that lens. But you got to figure out for yourself, which one do you want? Do you want to be the push method? Do you want to be the pull method? Do you not care if you're a salesy person and you're going to be blunt and out there and say, hey, this is what I solved. If you're interested, go ahead. But at the end of the day, that decision is up to you. There are those different methods, and to each their own. So the next thing I want to talk about is the learning process. And these last few weeks, I've published now 4 videos, YouTube videos. So once a week, I'm publishing a YouTube video. And whether it's been running ads, writing copy, writing, scripting, publishing YouTube videos, things like that, as I'm learning something new, and a lot of these, there's a bundle of skills that you're learning. So if you're running ads, you got to learn how to navigate the ad platform. You got to know how to make the video or the image look appealing. You got to know what to say. You got to have ad copy. You got to have a headline, the click button. You got to know how to analyze metrics. You got to know how to create a landing page. You got to know how to create a calendar scheduler. Like, each one of these things that I'm talking about, there's multiple skills underneath them that level up to the thing that you're doing. And what I've learned is it feels really overwhelming when you first start. You're like, oh my gosh, there's so many things. I have to know this, I have to learn that, I have to learn this software, I have to know how to do this and ABC, right? But then usually, the first month is overwhelming. Then the second month, you're like, okay, I kind of am getting this. Third month is, okay, this is way easier. And so you're getting more efficient. You learn the skills, you learn what you need to do over time. And it's not so bad after like 2 to 3 months in. Like for me, I found anywhere between 20 to 40 hours of learning something new, of actually like dedicated time on it. I've got it down. Like I know enough to be dangerous at that point. And so for some of you, maybe the thing that you're being stuck on is just getting started. And so my words of encouragement are just do it. There's a whole bunch of videos, there's Google, there's chat GBT that you can ask to help you through whatever it is that you're getting stuck on. If you can be resourceful and figure it out, it won't take that long for you to get on the other side of those 20 hours or those 40 hours and then be like, oh, got it. Okay, I'm over here now. This is way easier than it was before. And now I'm more efficient. Now I have my time back. Now I produce things to a higher quality. And then from there, you can either, make the decision of, I want to make more. So for right now, I'm doing 1 a week on YouTube videos. Can I do 2 a week? Probably. If I really wanted to, I could probably do 2 a week now because of the efficiencies that I've gained and how I've set up my time and how I shoot it and the post editing and all that. Or I can make it better. So spend all this new free time that I have into that same video to make it to a higher level of quality, learn new effects, make things easier, more digestible, work on transitions, audio, sounds, all that kind of stuff. So you have a decision to make, and I don't think either of them's wrong. Like you can go more and start doing 2 a week for this example, which is YouTube videos, or you can do better. But either way, you got to use that time and reinvest it. So as you learn the skills, as you gain more efficiency, don't just take that extra time that you have and not reinvest it back into learning more skills or getting better at what you're already doing. I've seen a lot of business owners who, once they get past a certain point and they hire someone like a EA, like an executive assistant, or someone to do another task in their business, there's all this slack or there's all this free time that now is created into their calendar. And they often use that to then not be productive with their time. So they spend it not making the business more money. And so depending on where you're at in your business journey, that could be a detriment, right? You could stall out your growth, you could stall out how much revenue is coming in if you're not reinvesting that time appropriately. And I think it goes again back to that focus. So once you get really good at something, it's like, okay, do I want to double down on the quality, or do I want to double down on the volume, or a combo of both? And then just continue to work at it and get it better and refine it. Get to that next level, that next rung. So that leads me on to number 6. As you get better, you could feel, especially in the beginning, you could feel like week over week, huge improvements. But the other thing that you have to keep in mind is that you're not good enough. And that's hard to hear, but whenever you start something, you're not good enough. There's been people that have been making content for 10 years, 15 years. There's been people who've been selling for 10 years, 15 years. There's people that have been doing what you're doing a lot longer than what you've been doing it for. And so you have to realize like where you are, especially in the beginning, and realize you're just at the starting line. You're maybe a few feet into the marathon race. And I get reminded of this over and over again, and it keeps you really humble that you are not good enough. Like, period, end of story. The reason why you're not getting the outcomes that you're wanting is because the insights that you're giving are not good enough. The quality of the video that you're making is not good enough. The thumbnail you're making is not good enough. Everything is not good enough. And so if you have it through that lens, you can always take ownership of that and realize, okay, got it. How can I improve? How can I improve? And it's a lot of work. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a lot of work. And it kind of can go back to that discouraging point if you're not getting any good feedback loops. But you always got to tell yourself, and I would say it's not good enough. It's not at the quality where it needs to be yet. Because if you take the alternative route where you say, oh, it's the algorithm's fault, or oh, it's this fault, or oh, it's that fault, then that gives you an excuse not to get better. Could it be true? Maybe. But does it help you get where you're wanting to go? No. So if it's not going the way that you want it to, if you're not getting the demand that you're wanting in your business, if you're not getting the people to sign up for your free event or pay for your services, whatever it is, it's because it's not good enough yet. You haven't solved enough of the problems. Maybe it's in your acquisition channel. Maybe it's in your copy. Maybe it's in your messaging. Maybe it's in your landing page. Maybe it's in your whatever it may be, your offer, your sales call. There's all these things, but some part or multiple parts are not good enough yet. And, I think about the acquisition as really like, people call it a bridge, but I think about it like this river that's like a rushing river. And the whole goal is to get the person from one side of the river to the other side of this rushing river. And there's all these steps to get there. And depending on your acquisition strategy, it could be 20 steps, it could be 10 steps, it could be 5 steps. But what I think the problem is like people are trying to build the whole bridge or all the steps across the rushing river at the same time. And again, it goes back to focus. So you want to figure out, how can I get a short feedback loop? So for example, let's make this really, really practical. If I offer something for free to people who watch and consume my content, okay, if I wanted to try to build all the way across the rushing river in one go, then I would create static images, videos, the copy that goes with those advertisements, the headlines. Then I would build a landing page on my website for them to go to. I would create either more copy on there, meaning the words on the landing page, or video. Then I would have a form that I have to fill out, and then I would have an automation that would send them an email or a thank you message or whatever it is. Then I would do all this other stuff, right? That is like the whole river that you're trying to get across in one go. Whereas you want to get the shortest feedback loop possible. So what would I do? I would just create the ad and then send it to a form that's inside Meta. So Meta has their own forms that you can fill out. It auto-populates all their data. So the first name, last name, email, phone number. That's what I mean by data. And then you just hit accept to the terms and conditions, and bam, now you have the free resource. That's a way shorter river or steps to get across than trying to do all of that stuff. Now, Is putting it on your landing page better? Yes, because it creates better friction and it's going to get people who only really, really want it to go over to it. But you're not at that stage yet. Don't try to make it harder than it has to be. Again, shorten the amount of steps, get a faster feedback loop. And then if no one is signing up for your free resource, I'm giving this as an example, then you know it's something either with your image, with your words that you're using, or the headline that you're using, or it's what you're offering is just not good enough. So it's less variables to know what went wrong, is my whole point. Like, you want to try to narrow down the amount of variables that you have and then work on getting that correct before you add in another step, another stone to get across the longer river that you're wanting to cross. So hopefully that's helps. And then at each step, you just want to be laser focused. Okay, why isn't this happening? Why isn't it this happening? And then you just narrow down on that one step of the 5 until you get it where it needs to be. Then you move on to the next one. And eventually they cross the small river. Then you can add in another step. Then eventually they cross that one. Then you can add in another step. Boom, now they cross that one. And you can see how it starts building out longer and longer. And speaking of steps, the next thing I really thought about too and had some insight on, and this is for people who are kind of hesitant to take that entrepreneurial journey or to take those next steps, is you don't, I think that the perception in people's mind is you have to be so many steps ahead. You have to be like 20 steps ahead of everyone else to then go help people, right? You have to be 20 steps ahead before you could be an entrepreneur to start a business. You don't necessarily need to be that far ahead. Personally, for me, I wasn't, 20 steps ahead of everyone with what I knew. I just have enjoyed and been passionate about the subject that I had, and I wanted to help business owners. And so I just started talking to business owners. I started to not work, but put on free workshops for people in these smaller communities to figure out what problems they were having before I started my business in this direction of helping people with their finances. And so I did that first, and I did a little bit of market research essentially into like what were they facing, what problems were they having, and then I did my own research on how I would solve it myself with my own thought process and my own understanding of finances, money, and numbers, and all the metrics that I know. And so you don't have to be so far ahead that, oh, I've had to have done it for 10 years in this field or 20 years in this field. No, as long as you are at least one step ahead of a group of people, then you can go back and help them with that one step that they're struggling with. And so that's what I would encourage people to do. You don't have to be 20 steps ahead. I wasn't 20 steps ahead. I still don't feel like I'm 20 steps ahead, but I am very resourceful. I do know how to critically think, and I am passionate about what it is that I do. And so if you have those ingredients, you're going to figure it out. So that leads us on to the next one. And this one's really, really tactical. So I've been doing YouTube now, like I said, for about a month and a half. And in the beginning, it was like flat, absolutely flat. I posted short form videos that I'd repurposed from the YouTube videos I was making that was long. And I was also putting in some short form videos from my old content that I'd started making on Facebook and Instagram from months ago. And flat, 0 views, 0 views, 0 view for like the first like maybe 15 to 20 pieces I put out there. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I don't get this. Like, how is YouTube this tough? Like, I'm not getting any views on my long forms. I'm not getting any views on my short forms. What the heck? And then I realized you have to, like, on YouTube, the real cool thing about YouTube is that you always can get another chance. Like on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, if you post on there, you put it on there, and literally it's the algorithm. Like, you have the algorithm, people are swiping, and if they see it, they see it. If they don't, they don't. And there's really no other second chances. On YouTube, though, there's a lot more searching. You have a search bar at the top that people are looking for answers for a lot of times, and you have a home screen that people love to scroll. That's different than any other platform. And so what I learned was, if I change my headlines consistently, then I'm going to attract people's attention. And all I really need is a few people to watch the video. And if enough people watch it and they watch it all the way through, or they watch enough of it, or if they leave a like or comment, then the algorithm knows, got it, this is a good piece of content. Let me put it in front of more people and see what it does. If you're not getting any views on your content, the first thing I would suggest is going back, fixing your titles, and trying to get them more like curiosity driven, or specifically to the problem that you're solving in the short clip, or your unique viewpoint, or something that's attention grabbing. And if you're struggling with like understanding what those could be, just scroll through YouTube for about 5 minutes, look at all the titles of the videos, and you'll get a really good understanding. Okay, I see these patterns over and over again. These are the most common ones. And if you could do that, you're going to start getting views. And I kid you not, I had one short that went from like 10 views or 15 views. I changed the title, and then in 2 hours, I got over 400 views. Okay, that's monstrous gains. That's like 20x gains on views. So this little thing that could take 30 seconds to change could 20x your views. I would highly suggest, if you're making content on YouTube, to change your titles up every so often. Now you can take this one step further, and this is what I'm testing right now, which is titles and thumbnails. So on long form videos, you have the image that also was what most people see. So between the image, which is the thumbnail, the title, and the first like 5-10 seconds of your video, because it gives a preview of the video in the beginning when you're scrolling. Those are the things you need to work on. So if no one's watching your videos on YouTube, those are the 3 things that you need to focus on. Again, it's getting across the bridge one step at a time, going across the rushing river one step at a time. So if people are not watching your videos, nothing else matters. I'll repeat that again. If no one is watching your videos, nothing else matters. So if you're making content and no one's watching it, nothing else matters, because you're not going from unknown to known in people's mind. And they can't buy from you if they don't know you, okay? So to fix that, and if you're doing long form videos, you need to double down and focus a lot of time, effort, and energy on getting better thumbnails, better titles, and better intros. That is it. Until you can nail that, nothing else matters. And then you can start worrying about, okay, how can I make my content more engaging? How do I keep people to stay on longer? And so that's the point I'm at right now. Like my videos will get, if you look at my long form videos, they're from 5-6 views to like 20 views. So that tells me my thumbnails, my titles, and my intros are not where they need to be to get people to want to even click on the video. Nothing else matters. So am I going to make a good video? Yes. But where am I going to spend a disproportion of my time? On those 3 things, because that's all that matters until I can get people to click. And so you spend all that time there, and then you move on to the next step and just focus on that. So again, it goes back to the same overarching thing. You got to know what to focus on. You got to know where to put your work, and you got to know where you put your time. And then just be relentless at doing that until it starts to work. And then you move on to the next thing. And then after months, you have all the steps across the rushing river, and now people can cross. But people won't see that. People won't see all the steps. People will just see that it's crossed and now it's working, and oh man, it just fell into your lap. That's not the case. All right. It takes a lot of time, effort, energy, and intentional focus. So all that to say, it's going to take longer than you think. There's a common rule in business that's called the rule of 100. You spend 100 minutes a day on making content. You do 100 reach outs a day, whether it's phone calls or direct messages. You spend $100 on ads a day. That's the rule of 100 to help generating views or generating eyeballs to know more about who you are. But I'm here to kind of reset the standard here, because the rule of 100 is like the starting point. That's like the bare minimum you need to put in. In reality, when you're first starting, it'll probably take anywhere between 1,000 to 10,000 before you get your first customer. So if you're doing cold calls, it'll probably take you somewhere between 1,000 and 10,000 cold calls before you get one to go through. If you're doing emails, probably take anywhere between 1,000 to 10,000 to get one to go through. If you're trying to sell something and you're getting people to your website, it's probably going to take 1,000 to 10,000 people to visit your website before you're going to get one. If you're running ads, obviously this is dependent on the offer that you're doing. $1,000 to $10,000 to get your first one across. So I just want to set that expectation right there. If you're doing YouTube videos, I don't know what the metric is. Maybe it's just 1,000 to 10,000 hours working on videos. I'm not sure the amount of videos, but I think it's Malcolm Gladwell who says you need to be 10,000 hours to be a master at your craft or your skill. 10,000 hours. It was a book that came out a long time ago. I think it was called Outliers. It's the same concept. You need to put 10,000 hours into that primary thing that you're doing to attract people to your business, to your store, to your website, whatever it is. And then after that, you'll start to get flow. But until then, you're just figuring it out and you're learning along the way. You're building your bridge across to getting people to start buying from you. So up until 10,000 hours, you are still in the beginner phase. You are still just testing it out. So hopefully that helps reset your expectation. Hopefully that doesn't deflate you in any way, but I do want to give you an accurate snapshot of what it's going to take volume wise just to get your first one across. And so then I go back to this, and I've been talking about this a lot, but it's your what you focus on gets improved. What do I mean by that? And again, I go back, I keep on going back to the steps across the river, right? What you need to be doing is whatever you want to focus on, and this is what I'm doing, and this is how I am going about this. So I'm sharing with you exactly what I am doing and how I see things. You don't have to listen to me if you don't want to, but let's say your goal is short form videos and you want people to watch your short form videos for whatever reason, then every single day you should be looking at the metrics. If your goal is to be a millionaire, you probably should be looking at your bank account every single day. If your goal is to be an author, you probably should be writing every single day or revising every single day. So what you put your focus on, what you put your attention on, that is what's going to get improved. So figure out what you need to be looking at daily, what metrics you need to be looking at daily, and start to really hone in on why is this happening the way it's happening? What can I take away? Because success leaves clues. So if you have a piece that does well, if you have something that resonates with people, it's going to do well. And then you got to figure out, okay, what in there worked and how can I replicate that, or how can I add that into my process moving forward? So again, these are just the things that I'm learning on my journey, and I'm hoping that this is helping you. And so the last one I want to leave you on today is about market demand. So like I told you before, like the first year before I really started doing this full time on my own, I was doing workshops for free. I was talking to business owner. I was trying to figure out like what their problems were. And I think a lot of us will go into business just thinking, oh, I have this solution. I'm just going to throw it out there and it's going to work. But you don't take the time to learn what the market demand actually is for that. Whether it's creating content, whether it's creating a free resource, whether it's creating your offer that you're going to have people buy from you for, you got to know what they're actually wanting. You got to do market demand research and understand what are they actually going through, what issues are they having, and how can I position myself in a way to solve that in a way that no one else can do, and in a way that gets them the best result. So that's the one I want to leave you on. If you really want to make your offer stand out, if you really want to make your messaging stand out, if you really want your ads to convert people, then doing a lot of market research will help. And always having your ear to the ground of what people are needing is super helpful. And the best way I've figured out to do that so far is through my sales calls. And so in the beginning, you could just be getting on these calls and not even trying to close them, but just listening to their problems, listening to what they're going through on a day-to-day basis. And that's going to give you so much information. I'm telling you, it's a spring, it's a well of information. So as soon as you can get people onto sales calls, that's when you can really start refining your messaging, refining your copy, refining the things that you're doing, because now you're understanding, got it, this is what they actually want. This is what they're telling me. And if you can use their own words, that's going to resonate with other people who are going through the exact same thing. So that's it for this one. That's the Making the Complex Simple podcast for this week. Hopefully there was a lesson, there was a nugget that you're taking away. And as always, as I close out, make sure you are applying. So it's not enough just to know, you have to apply. So figure out from here, what is it that you're actually going to apply into your business, into your life, that you can take away and use. And again, if you find this helpful, there's also the YouTube video online if you like the visual. And if you think someone else needs to hear this, go ahead and send it to them, share with them, because that's really the main method for this podcast to grow, is just through sharing. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.